Brother switched my heart medication as a joke. When I collapsed, my parents begged me to keep quiet. But when the toxicology report came back, the doctor's face turned white. What they found in my system wasn't just a prank, it was attempted murder. But my name is Elodie Parrish. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. What do you call family when the safest room becomes the one with the exit? The pill bottle was the same shade of harmless, soft blue, friendly font. Same cap. Same rattle. Except the rhythm inside was wrong. Like a metronome nudged half a beat off. They wheeled me under fluorescent skies. I counted ceiling tiles the way kids count shooting stars, wishing for breath, wishing for time. Mom squeezed my hand. Dad watched the hallway, not my eyes. My brother stood too far away, like guilt had a tape measure. The doctor didn't say much at first.
Clipboard. Pen.
A glance at the lab tech. Then another. A whisper that wasn't meant to carry did. Substituted compounds. Dosage that could stall a heart if it wanted to. If someone wanted it to. I heard accidental mix-up, the way you hear thunder on a sunny day. It doesn't belong, and yet it's there. Mom's voice went fragile. Please, Elodie, don't make this a scene. Dad's jaw carved a straight line. Think about your brother's future. My future was a blip on a monitor.
Beep. Beep. Beep.
Promises rose around my bed like steam. We'll handle it privately. Let's not ruin lives. We're family. Family shouldn't taste like metal. The doctor returned with the printout. Her hands didn't shake, but the paper did. She met my eyes as if opening a door only I was meant to walk through. Miss Parrish, she said softly, this wasn't a mistake. Somewhere in the waiting room, a vending machine hummed. Somewhere inside me, something colder clicked into place. I wasn't going to be their silence. You said. They told me it was just a joke. That line echoed so many times, I started to taste it in my sleep. A joke that stopped my lungs. A joke that made my heart stutter mid-beat like a skipping record. I spent 4 nights in cardiac monitoring. My arms were mapped with lines and bruises. Machines whispered codes I didn't understand. He brought me flowers. Yellow tulips, my favorite. He stood at the foot of my hospital bed and smiled, like he'd skinned a knee, not poisoned his sister. Come on, Elodie, he shrugged. It was a prank. You're fine, right? You always bounce back. My parents flanked him like defense attorneys. He's just a boy, Dad insisted. He didn't mean harm, Mom pleaded.
He loves you, they chorused.
But love shouldn't need translation. Dr. Reese wasn't family, which meant she was the only one telling the truth. The substance, she explained, wasn't even remotely related to your prescribed meds. The dosage was enough to cause arrhythmia. If you hadn't collapsed near someone trained in CPR.
Her pause said the rest.
I asked her to print everything. She did, 19 pages of betrayal written in chemical names and blood markers. I read every line like it was a confession. And then I looked at my brother's browser history on our shared family computer. Typed in a few keywords. There it was. A search for substitutes for beta blockers. Another for how much is too much. He hadn't just switched bottles. He'd studied the dosage. Planned it. Timed it. The night before my scholarship interview. The one that would have taken me 3 states away from them. He didn't want a sister. He wanted a puppet with a pulse. And the worst part? They all knew. I didn't confront him. I observed. Because sometimes silence is sharper than accusation. And I needed more than outrage. I needed proof, the kind that survives courtroom scrutiny, not just hospital whispers. So I let them believe I'd folded. That I'd swallowed their lies like I once swallowed pills I thought were safe. They brought me home 2 days later. The air in the house felt thinner. Or maybe I was just breathing deeper. I checked the medicine cabinet. My original bottle was gone. Replaced neatly with a fresh one. Correct label, wrong timing. Too neat. That night, I watched my brother. He laughed with our parents over takeout. Watched a comedy even. But I noticed the way he hovered near my water glass. I started setting up cameras the next morning. Cheap ones hidden behind books and tissue boxes. One in the kitchen. One in the hallway. One aimed directly at the drawer where my meds lived. It didn't take long. 2 nights later, I reviewed the footage at 3 a.m. There he was, opening the drawer, swapping the bottles again, wearing gloves. He even wiped the handles when he left. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I copied the footage to a flash drive, labeled it July birthdays, and hid it in my sock drawer. Then I made a second copy. That one I uploaded to a cloud folder only I could access. I started collecting everything. Screenshots of his internet searches, my toxicology reports, the labels from the tampered bottles, Dr. Reese's written analysis, footage from the cameras. I built a case, one document, one timestamp at a time. Because this wasn't just attempted murder. This was strategy. And I wasn't just a victim. I was a witness who'd survived. My parents sensed the shift. I wasn't playing the fragile girl anymore. I was watching, calculating. That scared them more than my collapse ever had. Dad started making offhand comments. Don't hold grudges, Elodie. That's not healthy. Mom brought me tea and tucked in the edges of her lies with cinnamon and honey. You know your brother has always had impulse issues. Impulse? He used gloves, wiped fingerprints, studied dosages. That's not impulse. That's intent. And yet they kept pushing. A quiet war of gaslighting. You're seeing threats where there aren't any. You're still recovering. Maybe it's the medication messing with your thoughts. Don't throw the family into chaos over one mistake. One mistake that could have stopped my heart. One mistake that came with premeditation. I said nothing. Instead, I called Dr. Reese again. Are you willing to testify? I asked. She hesitated. You're sure you want to take this public? I stared at my reflection in the microwave's glossy surface, the ghost version of me they preferred. I don't want revenge, I said. I want a record. I want the truth to exist somewhere that can't be erased. She agreed. I began writing everything down. The story, the symptoms, the hospital codes. Each day I remembered something new, a glance, a whisper, a skipped heartbeat at the wrong time. I filled an entire notebook. Then one morning, the drawer was open. My flash drive was gone. The July birthdays one. I checked the sock drawer 3 times. Then I checked the upload log. The cloud copy was still there. Safe. But now I knew. They were onto me. Someone had searched my room. And in doing so, they confirmed everything I feared. They weren't protecting him anymore. They were covering for all of them. They underestimated me. That's what happens when you've spent your life being the fragile one. The girl with the heart condition. The girl who needed rest, not resistance. But I had already backed up the backup. And now I had leverage. I visited Dr. Reese in person. Handed her a printed copy of the footage and the medical reports. Told her about the missing flash drive. Her eyes hardened. Elodie, she said, this is beyond a joke. This is criminal behavior and obstruction. We sat in her office, door locked, blinds drawn. She told me about a patient advocacy lawyer she knew. Discreet. Sharp. Former prosecutor. I'll call him, she said. Meanwhile, at home, the tension dripped like a leaky faucet. No one said the word poison. But they all started acting like I was the threat. Dinner was quieter. My brother avoided my eyes. Mom cleaned obsessively, cupboards, drawers, even the walls. Dad double-locked the garage. One morning, my prescription was gone completely. Not swapped. Not replaced. Gone. They wanted me dependent. They wanted me scared. Instead, I called the lawyer. His name was Wes Holloway. Voice like gravel and ice. When I sent him the documents, there was a long pause on the line. Then, you know this is enough to press charges, right? I do. Do you want to? That's when I hesitated. Not because I doubted myself, but because pressing charges would mean opening the gates on everything. The family name, the facade, the illusion of loyalty. But they'd already made their choice. When they erased my meds, they drew the line in red. I crossed it. Yes, I said. Let's begin. And somewhere in the house, behind closed doors, I swear I heard a drawer slam shut. like someone realizing the leash was finally off. The first hearing was quiet. Not a trial, just an initial review to authorize investigation. But my brother didn't show.
My parents did.
Mom wore her Sunday grace face. Dad brought a manila folder, probably filled with excuses. They didn't know I had already signed an affidavit. Didn't know Dr. Reese had too. Didn't know Wes had submitted the cloud footage, the time-stamped browser history, and the certified toxicology report. All sealed, all admissible. I walked past them in the hallway. My mom reached out to touch my arm. "Elodie, baby." I pulled back. "Don't," I whispered. Her eyes welled. But I didn't believe her anymore. You can't cry over spilled blood when you help set the table. That night, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. "You're destroying everything. Hope it's worth it." I didn't need to ask who sent it. My brother never did like losing. I took a screenshot.
Sent it to Wes.
He replied within seconds. "Don't respond. Let it stack." Let it stack. The phrase stayed with me. Because I wasn't destroying the family.
I was documenting it.
Each lie, each silence, each manipulation a layer.
And at the center?
A single truth they couldn't outrun. They didn't protect me. They protected the idea of him. The golden child. The clever one. The boy who just made a mistake. But mistakes don't repeat. Mistakes don't wear gloves. Mistakes don't erase medicine and send threats from burner phones. This was a pattern.
A choice.
And for the first time in my life, the system, the actual legal system, was listening. My brother wasn't just a troubled boy. He was now officially under investigation. And that changed everything. 3 weeks later, I received a formal letter. State seal. Return address from the Department of Public Prosecution. Case 41B. Preliminary criminal inquiry approved. Just below it, my brother's full name. It didn't feel victorious. It felt cold.
Clean.
Like something sacred had been stripped from the word family. But justice is rarely warm. That same evening, Mom called. First time since the hearing. "Elodie," she said, voice shaking. "We can fix this. Just drop the charges." I sat on my bed, the unopened pill bottle resting on my nightstand. "How long have you known?" I asked. Her silence was louder than any answer. Then, softly, "Since the first time you collapsed." I closed my eyes. "That wasn't this time. That was 2 years ago." "You mean he's done this before?" "It wasn't the same," she whispered, as if softening the crime would soften the outcome. "It wasn't lethal. Just he wanted attention. He didn't think. He never thinks." I cut in. "Because you all do the thinking for him." "Elodie, please. He's your brother."
No.
"He's your shield."
Click.
I hung up. My inbox lit up an hour later. An anonymous tip submission acknowledgement. Wes had filed it on my behalf with the medical board. My brother had once been a pharmacy intern. He still had access to suppliers. The medication swap hadn't started at home. It started at the source. This wasn't about me anymore. This was about every patient who trusted a label. Every bottle that might not hold what it says. Wes called. "They're opening a wider investigation. The board's getting involved now." I didn't reply right away. Instead, I stared out the window, watching autumn leaves fall like tiny endings. Sometimes, truth is slower than justice. But when it lands heavy. The courtroom wasn't dramatic. No gavel crashes. No gasps from the gallery. Just rows of chairs. Fluorescent lights. And a judge whose eyes stayed still even when my brother refused to meet mine. The case didn't go to trial. It didn't need to. He was offered a deal. Official confession, mandatory psychological evaluation, revocation of his pharmacy license, 2 years probation, and full restraining order. No jail, but a record. A public, permanent one. My parents didn't come to the hearing. Maybe because they knew what the outcome meant. Not just for him, but for them. They'd spent years building a fiction. One where he was troubled, not dangerous. One where I was dramatic, not dying. That fiction cracked now, filed between court transcripts and signed depositions. Wes handed me the final papers outside.
You did it, he said.
I shook my head.
No.
I just stopped letting them edit the truth. He smiled, then walked away. The leaves had changed fully by then. The trees looked like fire without the burn. And I was standing in it, alive, unshaking, free. I moved out of state the next week. Started a small job with a nonprofit that helps medical abuse victims tell their stories. Dr. Reese sent a bouquet to my new office. No card, just a single quote written on the wrapper. What survives is not silence, but the one who breaks it. I kept that note, taped it beside my mirror, above the new bottle of pills, prescribed, correct, untouched by anyone but me. I don't speak to my family anymore, but sometimes I wonder if they realized that silence wasn't safety. It was complicity, and I was never meant to carry it forever.